have been well trained.
No.
You don't have to carry a sword to be powerful.
I won't fail you.
Or do not.
I'm not afraid.
There is no try.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to the Chance Cube coverage of the 2018 World Championship of Star Wars Destiny. My name is Todd, and in this video we're going to watch a battle between Zach on the left, running eHondo, eYoda, and Matthew on the right, running eYoda, eHondo. Now, it may sound like those decks do sound a little bit similar, but I just want you to know that they are completely reversed. Zach is running Hondo Yoda, and Matthew is running Yoda Hondo. Just make sure to keep that straight. Now, both of these decks do run the same plot card, which is Stolen Intel, allowing you to have 6 cards in your opening hand instead of 5. Of course, this happens after setup and selection of the battlefield. Speaking of battlefields, both of these I almost said both of these characters. I'm getting a little discombobulated. Both of these players are going to be using the battlefield Frozen Waste, and that allows you to remove a character die when you claim. Now, removing character die can be a really big deal, but both of these decks, both of these decks, I know I made a joke about it, but they are virtually the same. These decks are going to be doing a lot of the damage with the upgrades, not as much with the character dice later on. Hondo is very powerful in the beginning of the game, but coming up later with all the upgrades and with as many resources, will become extremely plentiful in the game. With Yoda being able to gain resources each time, and then the Hondos may very likely just be trading resources the entire game. So both of these characters, both of these sets of characters, both of these players. See, I did it again. I'm sorry. I hope everybody just takes that in stride. When I say characters, sometimes I do mean players. It should be pretty easy to tell from the context. No need for hateful comments at all. Thank you. All right. Anyway, both of these players are going to be looking for force speeds. You're going to be looking for cunnings. You're going to be looking for your light bows. Now, we actually did get to see Zach play in round 5. He did win that game, and one of the ways he won it was with a card called Force Wave. Force Wave deals 3 damage to the first characters, 2 damage to a second character, and then 1 damage to a third character. Now, you have to actually do all the damage. So in this particular matchup, if he does decide to play the Force Wave and play it against his opponent Matthew, then Zach is going to have to deal his own characters 1 damage each time he does that. Is that a good trade-off? I personally think that it is. To do 5 damage to your opponent and 1 damage to yourself, or sometimes even just removing one of your shields, I definitely think that's a positive thing. One trick that we did see Zach do in the previous game was to use the Cunning special to proxy the Force Wave without having to pay the resource on the Force Wave die. The ruling still stands on that, and if we see that come up, I'll go ahead and explain that to you guys. If you've seen the previous video, you'll know about it, and you'll recognize it when it comes. Otherwise, he was able to use the Force Wave just indirect damage in order to make a good habit of it, make a good play of it. There is one more thing I'd like to talk about just real quick. I want you to look at the mats that these guys are using. These are gorgeous mats. I've never played a collectible card game before, so I didn't even know what you used a game mat for. And when I got into Destiny, I saw all the cool looking mats that you could get with all the Star Wars themes. Obviously, one of these is from a championship, to be able to get that really awesome Thrawn map from the Galactic Qualifiers. And on the left here, though, with Zach, he's just rolling that super sweet composite image of the Death Star and Star Destroyers and shuttles and TIE Fighters in order to make up the shape of Darth Vader's helmet. Oh, so brilliant. The imagery that you can evoke and invoke from all of these different artists out there that are just making some amazing art. Congrats. We have such a cool community of people to be able to make such amazing products, and also the support that we get from FFG in building the really cool mats such as the Thrawn that we see there. It's so much fun to be able to see. And I'm very grateful to be a part of this game where I can sit down and throw out a mat that's got Star Wars on it and duel against other characters. I'm sorry, I'm gushing a little bit. I just absolutely love this game. It's so much fun. Yeah, I'm just loving it. So now both of these decks are going to have a little bit of a hard time to get their battlefield. It's going to come down. Yeah, this is re-rolling again. And the reason is because there are so many blanks and specials on these dice. Hondo, for the roll-off, basically has 3 blanks, and Yoda has 2 blanks as well, as far as value for the roll-off. Both of these people gaining their extra cards for their stolen intel, and then setting that card aside just to say, hey, I did it. All right. I did see Matthew did get a cunning for his last card. Zach did end up getting a second chance, which could come in very important later in this game. It's not something you really want to discard. You really want to get that thing onto the table without having to lose it. Especially in the mirror match, being able to keep your characters alive is going to be very crucial. All right, so we do have 4 speed on each side. Yep, first play 4 speed, not bad. We'll see if either of these players got the second 4 speed. So we do see the cunning coming up in Matthew's hand. He is definitely going to be wanting to play that. Zach, on the other hand, not looking to play his second chance just yet, but we'll see what happens. Matthew's roll off with Yoda looking fine, getting a couple of specials and then a double focus on Yoda. Zach rolling out, and oh my gosh, one-upping Matt by getting specials across the board. Of course, Matthew getting the easy pickings in his opening hand, being able to remove the 2 Yoda specials, really cutting off the resource generation for Zach, which is going to make a huge difference. However, it did cost Matthew a resource in order to do that, which means unless he's obviously is going to be able to use the his Yoda special to gain resources, he is still down a resource to pay Hondo for the damage. And in this particular matchup, I don't know if you really want to pay Hondo for the damage so much. I do not have a ton of experience playing Yoda Hondo, so I'm going to be looking to these players to kind of show me how it's done in the mirror match. So Zach, thinking about resolving the 4 speed. My understanding is, okay, so Hondo rolls out, gets a focus and a double disrupt. Matthew looking around, going, don't like that double disrupt for sure. That focus, definitely not a huge issue because he's not going to be losing some money there. So if Matthew does claim some Yoda specials to get resources, it's definitely not a bad idea for Zach to go ahead and disrupt those resources and possibly re-rolling the focus on Hondo to try to get the extra re-roll that to get the extra resource or the special. All right, waiting with bated breath. Over in Matthew's hand, we do see that cunning, and then we see impulsive, which allows him to resolve one of his dice and then take an ambush action. So he can resolve that double focus, get another Hondo special, and then immediately resolve specials, which could be a huge deal. Huge deal. I do not know if Zach is running impulsive, so it'll be interesting. Matthew going through some of his cards, looking at his options. If I were, once again, at the beginning of the games, I'm always a little bit of a betting man. I sure do like to make bets on who I think is ahead or who I think has the advantage. Because Matthew did win the roll-off and was able to take the shields, I would probably say that Matthew is a little bit ahead. And here we go. We do see Zach losing his resources. We saw the impulsive play on the Yoda focus in order to get the disrupt side on the Hondo die, removing Zach's resources and making him unable to pay for the special. However, Zach just claims, and So Zach did have double dealing out, so every time he rolled a special, he was going to get a resource. Matthew played Vandalize, removed one of his character dice to get rid of that double dealing. Double dealing, a huge benefit in Zach's deck, being able to roll out a special and get an extra resource just because you happen to roll a special. And that is definitely something that's going to happen easily and often for both of these decks. So Matthew played the Vandalize. Zach was able to claim to remove the Hondo die. So even though he did lose his resources and couldn't pay for the Hondo die anymore, he was able to claim the Frozen Waste and get rid of that damage side. So neither of these players doing any damage in the beginning of the round. I'm seeing a scruffy-looking Nerf herder. Yep, and he plays it right on onto the field. He is going to call either an event, a support, or an upgrade. And we're going to see what he does. So we see a Cunning, a Second Chance, a Force Illusion, an Entangle. Can't quite see the fifth card. But Matthew has a choice depending on what he called. It looks like there are upgrades and events. So if he said supports, he will have missed it completely. Usually decks don't run a ton of supports. The fact that he was able to vandalize that double dealing as a support, not something you usually see too often. We also saw a handcrafted light bow and a Cunning. The Cunning is apparently what Matthew discarded. So Matthew played scruffy looking Nerf herder, said upgrade, and was able to remove the Cunning. Cunning probably a really good choice. He could have gone for the light bow, but I think Cunning's flexibility, especially if Matthew has some other special abilities on cards coming up, he really doesn't want to lose that, lose the head start. So, that's interesting. Okay, so Matthew is actually running double dealing. Zach resolved the eYoda special and discarded the top card of Matthew's deck, possibly foreseeing an issue with mill, hopefully getting a little bit ahead on a mill strategy later in the game. Probably that's probably what he's looking for. But he ended up hitting the double dealing on Matthew's side, so both of these characters losing their double dealings in the beginning of the game. Zach rolling in, getting a focus, a 2 melee, and a blank. Not a terrible roll for Zach. Matthew rolling in his eYoda for the first time this round, getting very similar to what he had before. Special on eYoda, double focus on eYoda, and a 4-speed special. So Zach is trying to decide if he can focus into what he can focus into and still not have his stuff removed. I think I may have seen a Mind Trick in Matthew's hand, but he does not have enough resources in order to do it just yet. He could 4-speed, resolve the eYoda special, get the extra resource, and then play the Mind Trick. But you really don't want to play a Mind Trick on 2 dice. That's not necessarily a good use of your time or of your resources. So Zach going ahead and laying out his discard pile for us so we can see what he had discarded from his hand or deck, or as we saw, the double dealing getting vandalized last round. So Matthew still having a second item to do, a second thing to do with eYoda. It looks like he was thinking about claiming the 4-speed and then playing a Cunning on Hondo. He just forgot to resolve the 4-speed first, but he got there. So he gets the Cunning. He still has one more action. Let's see what Matthew decides to do. Now, one disadvantage that Zach is going to run into possibly is that Hondo on Matthew's side is going to be able to proxy off Zach's light bow. And that's going to definitely cause some major damage on the other side of the board here. So Zach resolves the Hondo ability and onto the other Hondo, and Matthew just takes the damage. He did have a couple shields already on Hondo, so he just goes ahead and takes the 1 damage. He Actually, I don't think he had any resources left either. So that was definitely something he had to keep apprised of and make sure he was aware of. So Matthew, still looking at his dice, he has 2 Hondo specials, but Zach definitely does have a resource that he's going to be able to play to remove the 3 damage off of Matt's Hondo. But not anymore. The Cunning rolled the Disrupt, and Matthew just resolved that. So now Zach is looking at 6 damage. I believe he claimed in order to remove 3 of that damage. He did leave that light bow 2 melee out there, but he did save himself 3 damage. So you do 2 damage to your opponent or take 3. He still kind of ends up at a net profit in that way, if you will. All right, so we're getting ready for the next round. Both of these players are really trying to figure out how they're going to be able to stop each other. Like I said, I have not really played this particular pairing yet. My Yoda is in a Yoda and Clone Trooper deck because I love themes. And holy cow, that's a fun one to do. All right, so Zach is ahead on actions. He's going to be able to get Yoda out, and he rolls. He rolls a very similar die pairing here. He rolls a Yoda special, Yoda double focus, and a force speed special. That's definitely something we're a little bit used to here. I am seeing an entangle on Matthew's side, so he could entangle both of the Yoda dice, and I think he's seriously considering it right now. He is considering it, but it looks like he decides to roll in his Yoda as well and see if he can get similar sides. He does get the double focus, but we have a shield on the force speed and a disrupt on Yoda. Disrupt becoming extremely powerful in this game because the disruption allows you to get that Hondo damage through. Zach is going to go ahead and take a resource and has the opportunity to turn a die, but I don't think he did. All right. So during his action, he is going to take the force speed special. He's going to pay 2 for an X8 sniper, which also has ambush. So does he still have 2 actions? I believe he does. So he rolls out Hondo. He gets a disrupt, a special on Hondo, a shield on the light bow, and then a blank on the X8 sniper. So Matthew still does have resources. He can pay off that Hondo special. But if Zach can get that 1 resource ahead, I think he's going to be pretty happy with how it turns out. So Zach, I believe, still does have 1 more ambush action. He's thinking about using the Yoda focus to focus a couple of those dice to specials. I think he might be considering keeping the Hondo disrupt. Yep, he may even resolve it. He does. He gets rid of both of those resources on Matthew's side. So Matthew losing resources. He could retaliate and take a resource from Zach, but that seems petty, right? This is just not just me, right? It's a little petty, just a little. I'm just kidding. I'd totally do it too. All right. So the problem is the disrupt that Matthew is showing is on a Yoda die. Not the best use of a Yoda die in this particular game. And then Zach, after having resolved the double disrupt, is still sitting on a double focus on Yoda, a special on Hondo. So 2 actions from now, we could easily see a whole bunch of damage being done to Matthew. And with 1 damage on Hondo already, if there are no resources there, then that means we could have a knocked out Hondo unless Matthew is able to play something. I'm wondering if it was yeah, this is a crazy thing. I think Zach should probably focus to both specials. Oh, interesting. He decides to go for a 2 range and a +2 range on the light bow and X8 sniper. I think he probably would have gotten more damage had he focused to the special, but maybe not have been able to. It probably was a wash, actually. I think earlier I mentioned that if he can turn both the light bow and the X8 to specials, I think I was seeing the X8 sniper as a cunning, which is not the same. So Hondo on Matthew's side, sitting at 5 damage, half health, and staring down the barrel of another Hondo special, which is going to be quite quick to do. Matthew, however, being able to use his double focus to actually turn 2 die to a specials, and that means he's going to be able to proxy the light bow special onto Zach's Hondo. But Zach does not have any resources anyway, so that means he's definitely going to be taking all 6 damage there. So Matt's Hondo at 8 health, or 8 damage. Zach's Hondo with 9 damage. So slight advantage to Matthew. I think Zach is pretty much done. Yep, so he claims and removes Hondo's die. So, it seems like being just a little bit ahead is definitely working for Zach. Being able to just stay ahead of him, get rid of some resources, get his characters out before his opponent. Matthew actually discarding a Force Wave and a Force Illusion. He is maybe not planning on keeping Hondo alive this round. We'll kind of have to wait and see. But it is going to be Zach's opening turn. I believe. All right, so yeah, Zach had not quite chosen whether or not to discard, but he has now. I think I see, yep, there's an easy pickings on the field. However, Zach is going to need to use that easy pickings before his Hondo bites the proverbial dust. And sometimes the literal dust. Unfortunately, Zach rolling out and just getting a Hondo special, his other dies blanking out and getting a resource on the X8. Not exactly what a eYoda Hondo player wants to see right now. If he were able to hit that light bow special, he would absolutely be having a knocked out Hondo. Matthew taking a different approach, deciding to roll in eYoda first instead. This could give him an action economy to get a little bit ahead. Sure enough, he does get the 4-speed special, which means he's going to possibly be able to roll out Hondo and resolve it immediately and knock out Zach's Hondo before he can do anything. However, Zach, this should be really interesting to see. If Zach resolves the Hondo special, gains, basically stealing the resource from... There we saw the easy pickings play to get rid of the 4-speed and the eYoda special. So eYoda still showing a 2 focus side, but not being able to action sheet is definitely going to be a big hamper in Matthew's ability to take the game back and continue to stay ahead, I should say. So Matt's Hondo, 8 health with shield, 8 damage with shield, and Zach's Hondo with 9 damage straight up. Matthew just needs 1 damage to go through, and he's got this guy. So he's got that Hondo. Zach, on the other hand, is contemplating his predicament, and without being able to see the other cards in his hand, my best guess, if he doesn't have any other sort of mitigation, is to go ahead and roll out eYoda, hopefully get that action economy out there, the 4-speed and things like that. But Matthew is showing Entangle. He does have it on the board. If Zach were to resolve the Hondo special and take that resource from Matthew, that would mean that that Entangle would be off the board for Matthew. But Zach doesn't know that. He doesn't know what's in Matthew's hand. What is he going to do then? I don't know. Do you know? Maybe you've seen this before and you do know. Luckily for me, I'm actually seeing this with fresh eyes. And by fresh, I mean as fresh as one can be late at night. Now, one trick is that the X8 Sniper does have an ability to pay a resource and turn its die to any side. I personally love running it in my Lando Calrissian deck because Lando makes money for days. And so being able to roll out, focus the X8 Sniper to the 3-for-1 side, and then still be able to pay it as well is just a huge bonus. It's kind of like guaranteeing the fact that they'll get 3 damage every time. It's like having a Mother Talzin of sorts. Just without, the action cheating. So we do get the X8. He claimed the resource on the X8. And I'm sure Matthew is sitting there going, why did he take that resource? Why did he take that resource? What does he have? What does he have? What does he have? What do I do? What do I do? So he's got the Entangle. He's got another Vandalize, it looks like. And then he's got some blue upgrades. I think I saw a Light Bow in there and Force Wave. So this is going to be a little bit tricky. I don't think the Force Wave comes out yet. He does discard it to re-roll. So he's going to try to look for some pretty max damage here. No, I guess he did not discard to re-roll. He used his eYoda focus to turn 2 dice to specials. And so now it's going to be Zach's turn to sweat. Let's see if he has any. I think I see some mitigation about to be played. He's playing with a specific card in his deck. And he plays it out. I believe it was most likely a Force Illusion. So he's going to be able to stop some of the packets of damage, but definitely not enough to keep Hondo alive indefinitely. Because Matthew's going to be able to resolve all those special sides all in one go. But it is for sure going to take two dice to knock out that Hondo instead of just the one that would have been before. So Matthew resolves a Hondo die and Zach pays for it. So that means Matthew's going to have to use every single one of his dice in order to knock out that Hondo. And you know what? That's going to be okay. 1, 2, 3. We see the other Force Speed, an Entangle, and I think a Mislead. Hondo is taken out. He does lose his upgrades, which is going to be really hard because eYoda on Zach's side has absolutely no upgrades that can deal damage. He is not rolled out yet, but he does not have the damage sides. Okay, so it looks like there was just if you notice that, there was a judge call in there. Zach did pay Matthew for one of the Hondo dice. However, Matthew had not taken that resource into his resource pool. And so the judge just made sure that he did get that resource. The resource passing off from Zach to Matthew is not a may or a maybe. It is something that has to be done because it was a choice made and it has to be followed through on. And so luckily the judge was there to be able to make sure that Matthew got that right. So as at this point, I would definitely still probably say that Matthew is just slightly ahead in the damage race, and that's because eYoda on Zach's side just not having any upgrades yet. And so we're going to see Zach go ahead and wrap up his turn, taking a shield and resource, using the focus on the speed to get the eYoda special. So Zach starting the round with 3 resources, and Matthew starting the round with 5 resources. He's going to be able to definitely play some pretty wicked cards out there. So it looks like he does discard the Force Wave. I'm seeing a Mind Trick, and I think I see a Second Chance, and an Easy Pickings, and a Light Bow. Oh my goodness. So Matthew starting to ramp pretty heavily. He knows that Hondo may not be long for this world. If he did not actually get that Second Chance that I thought I saw, then that means that Hondo could very easily die. All we need is for Zach to get a weapon upgrade or something else that can get some good damage. So we do see a Force Wave go down on eYoda on Zach's side, which can be a pretty big deal. It's going to be interesting to see. My guess is he's probably has that force wave out to be able to knock out eHondo really quick, do a little bit of damage to eYoda, and then hopefully override that force wave with another upgrade in just a little bit. So he does hit the force wave special. He hits a double eYoda special as well. We do see the easy pickings on eYoda and the force wave. So unfortunately, Zach not going to be able to resolve that force wave this round. It's an excellent easy pickings play for Matthew. Saw a dead eHondo there before he was able to roll out, but Matthew was able to just resolve it. Zach taking another shield and a resource, I'm guessing. Oh, nope, he mills. So as the second action that he does is to mill the top card of Matthew's deck, which is his second light bow. So that's gone. Zach kind of considering the idea that he is not going to be able to do a whole bunch of damage. But Matthew doing 2 damage through the shields with the light bow. And then we have eHondo roll out. Zach is out of resources, but no specials on the eHondo dice or the cunning, thankfully for him. Matthew's thinking about discarding to re-roll. He does not. He focuses. I think he focuses the cunning to a special so he can proxy that light bow again. So it did occur to me that if you had 2 cunnings and 2 light bows out, you could essentially resolve the light bow special 4 times in a single round, which is pretty bonkers. And then, of course, I go really crazy and I say, well, what if you have my ally is the force as well, and if you have 4 resources, then what you could end up doing is you could end up having your light bow specials on the special, or your light bows on the specials, your cuttings on the specials, and my ally is the force, one of the light bows, and then resolve it. My ally is the force, the other light bow, and resolve it. So you've done 12 damage so far, and then resolve both the cunning specials to do an additional 6. You're looking at 18 damage in a single round, which is absolutely nuts. Matthew vandalizes the force speed just to be difficult. I'm just kidding. No, he resolves it because that's exactly what you do. He vandalizes that force speed, preventing eYoda from getting any of those really crazy speed tricks, using either concentrate or alter to get his dice to whatever he wants and be able to resolve them. So Zach definitely still putting up a fight. He still has that force wave on eYoda, meaning the first time he resolves it, he is going to be able to do a really considerable amount of damage, being able to do 5 to his opponent each time he resolves that, and then doing just 1 to himself as well. So we roll out, we get the 2 indirect on the force wave, which is probably not what he's hoping to see, and then the eYodas roll double shields. I would say watch out for the easy pickings, but we did see both of them go out into Matthew's discard pile through play. So Matthew rolling out, hitting the light bow special, hitting a double focus on eYoda, but does miss the light bow special, or sorry, the force speed special, and then special, and then the specials, special into the special to the special, and special. Okay, I've said that word so many times I'm starting to kind of not realize what I'm actually saying anymore when I say special. You know, the word kind of loses its meaning after a while. Like if you say the word spoon too many times. That's kind of how I'm getting with special. Special. Oh man, it has no meaning anymore. I did it. I did it to myself. All right. So Matthew's gone out. He's got the light bow special, the eYoda special, double focus on the other eYoda die, and then a blank on the force speed. However, the eYoda special will easily turn that into the force speed, and I think Zach is getting ready to do some crazy things. All right, we saw an overconfidence. And, of course, the Matthew ends up rolling, and they both hit the 2 sides. So Zach decides to remove the range. It looks like he's actually playing open-handed now. I think Zach realizes that the game is pretty much over. They may just be playing just to see who would have won, just to finish it out. They do have a little bit of time left in the round, but this is most likely going to be the last round of the game. Matthew being able to get rid of that Hondo in the last round was super critical in changing the course of the game. Once Hondo died and eYoda just not being able to get out and do the damage, having no damage on him, just slightly worse rolls on Zach's part seem to have been the deciding factor, and in a lot of cases in a mirror match that definitely can seem to happen. Matthew discarding his cunning was definitely part of it. Hey, look, an energy slingshot. Wow, I hardly know anybody that actually plays that card anymore. I'm actually really happy about that. So Matthew getting the energy slingshot, which can actually repeatedly do some really good damage over time by spending some resources. So Zach discarding a couple of cards from Matthew's hand. Matthew rolls out and hits one Hondo special. But he does have 4 focus showing on his eYoda dice. This game is pretty much over. We're going to see the double cutting off of the light bow special, and that's going to be it. We're just going to see what happens. I don't even know. I'm not sure what else Zach has. I know he has a mind trick over there, but he doesn't have resources to pay it. Matthew resolves his double focus sides. And has 4 specials showing, 2 Hondos, 2 cunnings. Zach can do one thing, and that is to deal 2 indirect damage to Matthew's character. And so he's going to do 3, 6, 9, 12 damage to eYoda, which definitely takes the game. Congratulations to both these players for doing an excellent job, being able to play in the World Championship. Congratulations to Matthew for winning the round. And I believe this may have been the last round for day 1B. And we're going to hopefully see some of these players move on to day 2, which will happen, which happened on the Sunday after this particular battle taking place on a Friday, and we'll kind of move into our Saturday games. So thank you so much for watching. Hope you've been having some fun. If you have any questions, comments, rude remarks, go ahead and leave them down below. Except for the rude remarks, keep those to yourself. Thank you so much, and we'll catch you guys next time. Bye. I hung a eYoda 2 flip out there.